After almost a decade after leaving Celtic Football Club, big Ronny Dahlia is back with a bang and he wants to take Celtic's prized possession. Back to Fog Football, Kyogo Furuhashi linked with Manchester City during the summer. Could be on his way to Atlanta, Georgia, brother.
Wee bit of a downgrade.
Manchester It's a wee bit of a downgrade, I'll tell you that much for sure. But big Ronny, this guy has been winning MLS Cups. He's been doing good stuff over in Georgia.
Ronny Ball
over there. I wouldn't mind Ronny returning to Celtic, I tell you that much. Tell you that much for free.
The Ronnies are coming.
But the rumoured fee...
Can't wait to see them.
The rumoured fee is that he wants to sign him for 10 million. Because he wanted to pay 10 million in the summer.
Yeah, he wanted 10 million in the summer, but we know that Kyogo has been linked with Manchester City, and that looked to be the destination for Kyogo for quite a long time. Hasn't turned out that way, and looking at Manchester City this season, they could certainly use Kyogo. But now it's Atlanta that are in prime position to get Kyogo, and I just don't see this deal happening, man. Yeah, Ronny Deila wants him, Atlanta want him, and 10 million is a decent amount. Do I think Celtic could get more for Kyogo? Yes. Do I think that they can get much more for Kyogo based on last season and this season? I would say no. I do think his price has devalued and he's another year into his 4-year contract now. I still think Kyogo's the best striker in the league, but for me, he's not hit the heights of his first 2 seasons under Ange. Here, maybe he's just not suited to playing under Brendan Rodgers. But for me, I think he's too good to go to Atlanta.
Yes.
I don't like when people go to MLS. I think Kyogo's still good enough to play in the Premier League. And I am surprised that Ange never brought him to Spurs. Now, maybe that's telling. Maybe Ange doesn't think that he's good enough for that level. Because I do think it's very strange that I think we just assumed that when Ange went to Spurs, he was going to sign Celtic players, and he didn't sign anybody. Now, does Ange believe that Celtic's best players aren't good enough for Spurs? I mean, I'm not saying Kyogo starts or anything, but I thought Kyogo's good enough. I think Kyogo's good enough to at least be a second or third choice striker for Spurs.
If Matt O'Reilly can go to Brighton, he can go to Tottenham. Right? That's slam dunk.
Why do you think Ange then never really...
Yeah, we've seen it before.
Although Matt O'Reilly did have his best season under Rodgers, not Ange.
Yeah, but he's still a Celtic player, you know what I mean? And I feel like Ange should be going to the Scottish League. He should. I mean, Ange should be looking at like a Bojan Miovski and going, here, Spurs, Daniel Levy, we can get him for cheap.
I'm thinking about players that Ange played with during his with at Celtic.
Well, maybe it is a case of that he thinks they're just not good enough to make the step up required. But I think that's a load of BS. I'm not going to turn around and say that just to twist a knife in.
No, who's twisting the knife in? I'm genuinely wondering why he never signed any players.
Who knows? Maybe Daniel Levy is the guy that makes the decisions down there. But I think it is weird that he's no signed him. But if you look at Hatate this season, he's completely dropped off. Celtic fans want him out.
Yeah, but when Ange first went, I thought Hatate was a possibility.
Yeah, we thought Hatate, we thought Kyogo, we made a bunch of fids on it.
If Jota never went to Saudi Arabia, maybe would he have been a possibility? Not too sure. But I looked at Kyogo, Hatate, Jota. Those were the 3 players that I thought made, and then possibly maybe even like a Carter Vickers.
Returning. Spurs.
Hasn't happened. Anyway, Kyogo, will he leave Celtic? Will he go to Atlanta? Will he trade Scotland for America? I mean, normally I'd say trading Scotland for America is a pretty good deal, but when it comes to the football world, I'm going to say no. Celtic are a bigger club than Atlanta, better club than Atlanta. Well, could Atlanta pay more money? I mean, yeah, but Kyogo be getting paid well at Celtic, and I think he's got unfinished business there. Champions League football every season, trophies at will. You know,
not guaranteed next season though.
Not guaranteed, but I still think they'll be there. There's better moves for Kyogo than Atlanta.
There is, but let's talk about his stats, alright? So he's played 23 games all in, he scored 8 goals and got 3 assists. 15 games in the Premiership leading to 6 goals and 3 assists. Is that good? That is 9 goal contributions in 15 games. It is, I mean, is that good, if we're being honest? I don't think it is for Kyogo's high standards. You'd probably expect him to have more goals, and considering he's starting up front for Celtic, you would expect him to get more goals. But as we've touched on, he probably doesn't Well, I say probably. Yeah, you can clearly see, man. If you have eyes, he doesn't suit Rodgers' style as he did with Ange. It's quite that simple. But in the Champions League, he has got 1 goal in 6 appearances. I don't think that's that good. And considering the fact that he's took on, not the greatest Champions League sides in there, he got 1 goal against Slovan Bratislava in the first round, no goals against Dortmund, none against Atlanta, none against Leipzig, none against Bruges, and then none against Zagreb. But to be fair to him, I think Celtic have scored a lot of goals. They did against Slovan Bratislava, but you'd feel like with him being the striker, he should have more than 1 goal.
Yeah, you take away that game though, they've scored 5 in what? 5 and 5?
Aye, so, yeah, it's something like that. So as you can see...
What is that?
Yeah, it is that, big man.
Well, something like that it is. That's 5 and 5.
So, I believe he's averaging what? I mean, I don't know what he's averaging minute per goal, but let's just look at somebody like a Hamza Igamani, alright? Quick wee look over to him. He's got 4 goals and 1 assist in the Europa League. 47 minutes per goal. That's a fantastic record in the Europa League. And that's against the likes of Tottenham, Nice and Union Saint-Gilloise, who, if we're being honest, are they much off the level of some of those Champions League teams?
No, so what you're saying is Atlanta should be looking at an Igamani and not a Kyogo Furuhashi?
No, I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm saying that Kyogo's not really delivered this season. And he hasn't really delivered in the Champions League. I think his press delivers, but he needs to add goals to it. And he ain't doing that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if... maybe it's not a bad deal for Celtic. I wouldn't sell him, but here, I do think that they need to actually bring in another striker if they want to be, a top team in well, they'll never be a top team in Europe, but I do think that they need another. Ida's just not it. Ida. He's not that good.
Yeah, and you know what? As much as I think maybe getting 10 million for a guy, it's approaching 30 is a decent deal.
But then you think about it, paid 9 point, so it's like a shite into.
No, it is.
See the fact that Celtic are being offered for 10 for Kyogo. That just proves to me that Celtic overpaid for Ida. You tell me Ida's...
He's a lot younger, but the problem is, if Ida was any good, I don't think Celtic fans would be that bothered by losing Furuhashi because they'd be like, well, you know what?
Yeah, Ida will be starting
and then we can sign some other young striker.
I would imagine that most Celtic fans, and by most I mean a large majority, would be desperate not to lose Kyogo. And I think that tells you more about the second choice.
2.5 years left on his deal. What do you think is a fair price for Kyogo as we end this video?
I think what Atlanta's offering is pretty fair.
Yeah, I'd say about 10
I could see it being a bit more, but I don't think it's a bad offer.
The season's not been that prolific, in my opinion, to get much more. I think when it's Man City bidding 15 million, it's like, you know what, they could bid 200 million and it still wouldn't be enough because of the amount of money down in England. But the reality is, it's an MLS club bidding 10 million. You don't tend to see them bidding an awful lot. 10 million's probably about what their peak. I mean, name me another player that's went for big bucks in the MLS.
No.
The same club actually put in, 4.5, 5 million for Dessers, then they've moved to Kyogo. Tells you all you need to know.
Maybe they'll be moving for Shankland next 15. Who knows?
I know, because that is the level of upgrades between the three of them. But anyway, till then, peace.